Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman, and I've hit the mother load of radio today. Been doing this for a little over a year now. I don't think this has ever happened. The entire slate here, all new stuff since my podcast was recorded this morning, and I got its things that Pete Mundo didn't touch. That's a hard thing to do. Now, Pete was in a tough spot today, because Trump took the stage in Davos for an hour and a half, which is not something you can really air on radio. And so he continued to do his show, and we're going to wrap up here in a moment exactly what happened. This was, by the way, the speech I've been waiting for. I don't know about you, but this is the one I've been waiting for. Then I come in, and no more I get in here, and I sit down in the control room, and Mark Van Parley says, oh, boy, I got this survey on my phone here. We don't know who it's from. Take a look at this. We're going to break this down at 10:30. Kansans are getting this, apparently, and we don't know exactly who or why. We do know Mark signed up for, what's it called? Touchdown Kansas City? No.
Scoop and Score.
Scoop and Score.
A few years ago.
For information about moving the Chiefs to Kansas. So he got it. I got it. I filled it out in 2 minutes' time. And you won't believe some of the questions in this survey that Kansans are being asked about the Chiefs moving to Kansas and the numbers in it. It's sensational. I cannot wait to share that with you. That's coming up in a half an hour. Of course, the Kansas Jayhawks won last night with Jacques Vaughn as their head coach. We'll get Mark's just all decked out in KU today, like just head to toe KU. He's put his Nebraska stuff away, his Seahawks stuff's away, his Chiefs stuff's away, his Royals, his Monarchs, his current, his Sporting. How many other teams? Mariners, all of them. Seattle Supersonics, you still have some old NBA stuff?
I have one of their hats, yeah.
Are you an Oklahoma City fan because of that?
Yeah, I've got an Oklahoma City shirt. My friends in Seattle hate me for that, but
Seattle's getting its own team.
They should, yeah.
They're getting it. NBA is going to expand 2 teams, and Seattle's going to be one of them a few years here down the road. But we'll start today with Trump, who had difficulty getting to Davos on time because Air Force One had electrical problems yesterday when it left. They got off the ground, the lights flashed, the reporter said the lights went out on the plane, an announcement was made, they turned around, they went to Joint Base Andrews, landed it, and it is, I'll just say this, Air Force One used to be something that we all cherished and were proud of as Americans. It is a relic, and it is embarrassing. It is. And now it's turning around for electrical failure, and they took 2 airplanes to Switzerland, the official Trump party, I guess. I don't know how they divide them up, and the media on some and whatever. They have standby planes. They used to have decoy Air Force Ones, but apparently they just look like it, and they're not really suited to be the Air Force One. We have a new Air Force One that has been delayed and delayed and delayed by Boeing until 2029 at least. The Qataris last year gave Trump a brand new or a new-ish 747 to convert any way he likes and use in his presidency, but I think we're still about a year away from that conversion being done. I don't know, man. I don't like my president flying around in an airplane that's got electrical problems. The maintenance on this plane has to be the best of any airplane on the planet, but it is old. It is old, and that scares me. It just does. There's a lot of redundancies and things with Air Force One that can get the president out of that airplane if they have trouble, especially at altitude. They've got ways. There are all kinds of things that you and I don't have traveling on Southwest. Okay, so it's not that. It's not that they haven't planned for worst-case scenarios and things like that, but it just seems silly to me that of all these great things we have going on economically, we're going to buy Greenland for crying out loud. We can't buy the president a better airplane. I guess we're going to have to wait on it, the new Air Force One. But he gets there. He's got all his choppers there, all the advance, everything. They fly him up to Davos, which is like a ski town. This is the World Economic Forum. And this is all the people that, if you're listening to this show today, this is the last place on earth you would want to be. Is it beautiful? Yes. Are the hotels great? Yes. Would you find a nice meal? Of course. Everybody you would run into is the most ridiculous Gavin Newsom clone you've ever seen. Snobby, fancy haircuts. It's all about appearance, saying the right things, talking about global warming, saving the planet and windmills and all this stuff. It's the worst. And it's an economic forum. And I've been waiting for this because the skids were greased by Scott Bessent, who went over there on day one and said in front of all these people, they're all mostly European, but they're from all over. It's ridiculous. Like Justin Trudeau is there with Katy Perry. He's not even Prime Minister of Canada anymore. You get all these, Gavin Newsom is there bad-mouthing Trump because he's trying to find support for his run for president in 28. It's the worst of the worst. These crazy leftists are just everywhere at Davos. And I can't wait to see what this Trump 2.0 does in front of these people. Scott Bessent fires first a couple of days ago. He says, yes, listen to me clearly. Yes, the European Union is buying Russian oil while funding Ukraine in a war against Russia. Scott Bessent said, this is an economic forum. Listen to me plainly and clearly. Hear me now. The European Union is funding the enemy of a war they're funding. Translation, this is the biggest group of idiots economically we've ever seen in our life. You don't understand economics. If you want proof that you understand economics, look at the United States of America. We understand it. Why do you think we're bigger, more powerful, and have more money than all of you combined? Why is it? Because you're stupid. That's basically what he's inferring. Then Howard Lutnick gets up there and says, I'm not asking about Greenland. He says, I'm not talking about Greenland. And Lutnick's, he's just not going to talk about Greenland. He says, that's not what I do. So he doesn't do that. And then he just unloads on all these people that globalism is dead and announces it didn't work. You folks know it didn't work. It worked for you personally, but it has not worked for your countries. You're grifting off of us. We finally got you paying more to NATO, which is nice, but it doesn't make up for these decades and decades and decades of your little party you've been throwing over here and all the things that you do and you've done to make your countries inefficient, not as economically sound as they should be, and not as good a partner to the United States or as grateful as they should be. It was an absolute beatdown. And then Trump arrives. And I can't wait for this. And he had that subdued tone. Not overly serious, but subdued. He was great. I have never really been concerned that much about global relations until now. Because what we're doing appears to me, this is no area of expertise for me, folks. It appears to me that what we're doing is all the right things. When I hear them explain, I'm like, exactly. Okay. So Venezuela's near us, and they're just basically supporting Russia and China and all these, and Cuba and all these entities that are basically not our friends. This is a great move. Let's do this. I hear about Greenland. Have you seen the map of all the places the missiles are in Russia? Every missile that would go to New York or D.C. would go right over Greenland. Of course it's something we need. And Trump gets there and says, like the first thing he says, the United Kingdom, you're putting windmills everywhere. They don't work. They don't produce energy. China's selling them to you. And he said, do you people not understand that China makes all the windmills, makes a fortune off of them, but they don't use wind power in China? Why would they not use it? He said, because it's no good. They're selling you crap because of the stupid things you think about. He just laid waste to the UK and said, you have so much oil under the North Sea and you won't do any of it for yourself. We are no longer subsidizing this continent. You guys have all the resources and everything you need to do it right the way we do it. And we're not doing it anymore for you. We will be your ally. We will be your partner. We will stand with you. We are done getting ripped off. It is over. He then looked these people in the eye and said, you'd all be speaking German and Japanese right now without the United States of America. Stared him right in the eye and told him. Then Trump drops the big news of the day. The big news of the day is, I know you're all scared, is what he told him. We are not invading Greenland. We're not using force. We're not doing it. I want everybody to understand and hear what I'm saying. We have no interest in going into Greenland and taking it militarily. I probably just broke news, is what he said, but we're not doing it. But we're getting it. It's going to be our territory. Then he went country by country and talked about each leader, how he broke them down on tariffs and what their discussions were and why they caved. He said they made the right decisions. Every one of you countries over here made the right decisions in caving on this stuff. The next 3 years, the United States of America is going to do whatever the hell it wants. And you're going to go along with with it if you want us to be part of NATO and protect you from China and Russia. That's just the facts. And he said, we're going to get Greenland. We do things differently. He said, we're bringing all these manufacturing plants into America, chip plants, automobiles, whatever. We just changed the rules in America because artificial intelligence is going to need a lot of electricity. We've told every single entity that's coming in and building something that qualifies as big enough or expensive enough, you can build your own power plant, and we don't care what you use. We'll approve it in 2 weeks if it's coal or if it's oil. If it's a nuclear power plant you want to build where your factory's going to be, it may take us 3 weeks to approve that, but we're going to approve it. And nobody's coming in and building stuff in our country with windmills. I mean, he's just laying waste to these people for how stupid they are. Then he broke more news. He started in on the rigged 2020 election and said we wouldn't be in this place and we wouldn't have this war in Ukraine if the election wasn't rigged in 2020. And he said people are about to be prosecuted for this. And he goes, uh-oh, I just broke news. He went off script. He goes, I guess I just broke news again. So Trump announced today that we are not invading Greenland. That's off the table, but we are getting it. And he said people are going to be prosecuted for the 2020 election in the United States. I love that. It's just so truthful. This is not only a man that will say what he thinks and what's on his mind and that. I'm telling you, this person is different because of the assassination attempts. Don't you think that would fundamentally change your life in the way you deal with other powerful people? You wouldn't be nearly as afraid of them anymore. He did an interview with Katie Pavlich yesterday and said there's an entire plan laid out. It is sealed. If I get killed, what we're doing to Iran. We've heard that before, but he went into greater detail. J.D. Vance has it. It's locked up in a safe place. And if Trump gets taken out, they're immediately going to blame Iran because they clearly have intelligence on this front. And what will happen to Iran will be unlike anything we've seen in the world. I can't believe the things this guy says. But this was a big one today, and these people needed to hear it. When he was talking about Canada, he said, we're building a golden dome that's going to save the United States. We want Greenland for this, and Canada's along with the ride. He said, Canada lives because of the United States. And Mark is ungrateful. That's Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada. Mark Carney went to Harvard and worked at Goldman Sachs and made all his money on Wall Street. And he's the Prime Minister of Canada, and he doesn't want to do anything for the United States. He owes his entire life to the United States. He's throwing down, folks. I never really cared about global relations, except now it's real. It's not us. You know, I used to think, okay, because we paid for everything, we're sort of in charge. We're not in charge of anything over there. They're doing all their windmill crap and all the things that are bad economically and open borders and all this stuff. He got a text from the leader of Portugal who said that in the text to Trump, he called him his eminence, your excellency or something, not even Mr. President. He goes, these people in Europe are crazy. We don't want to be part of that. We want to give you islands off the coast of Portugal to put military bases in. We want to help. That's one of the shipping lanes. Okay? We want to help. Portugal's in. That's the southwestern part, basically, of Spain. He's like, I forget all these other idiots. We got Poland. We got Hungary. There's places in Europe that are really conservative and don't want to be part of this snobby Davos group. And boy, if there was ever a person that ever went to Davos that doesn't fit in, it's Trump. He doesn't look like him. He doesn't sound like him. And he's smarter than every single one of them. He knows how to do economics. They don't. And they call themselves the World Economic Forum because, of course, they do, even though it hasn't benefited their countries and they're still in need of the United States' help. 913-408-7957 is the number to call if you got a chance to watch that this morning. I'd love to hear your thoughts. He spoke for an hour and 10 minutes. Then he took questions from the moderator, which was equally interesting. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO.
From Lenexa to Lee Summit, it's Kevin Kietzman. Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Yeah, Trump looked him right in the eye and said, we're not going to use force on Greenland, but y'all can't survive on your own. So if you want to be under our umbrella, Greenland's ours. Just laid it down for him. Just laid it right out there. This is the way it's going to be. He also said Denmark promised $200 billion to defend Greenland years and years and years and years ago. He said they've spent less than 1% on that. And he said, I don't think they really own it anyway. The best argument is if Denmark owns Greenland because they, pushed a boat up to the edge of the ice one day and said, this is ours, there is no treaty, there is no contract, there's no anything. If that's true, do we own the moon? I'm asking, does the entire globe recognize the United States owns the moon? We supposedly planted a flag there, right? If we did, apparently it's ours. Trump said we were stupid for giving it back to Denmark because we had it during World War II because they were occupied. And we gave it back to him. He said, hey, different time and place, wasn't my call, but how dumb were we to give it back? It's rightfully ours anyway. It was ours because we had it during World War II, and we just gave it away. He's right on all this stuff. Absolutely. Let's go to the phones. Robert's in Pleasant Hill. Good morning, Robert. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Kevin, you are right on this one. The reason why he does not fit in is because he's the very definition of a public servant. That's the reason why he's where he is. These other leaders, I would pretty much guarantee you 80% of them are out for themselves, much like much of the leaders that we've had here in the U.S. However, Trump, when he went into office, he had nothing to gain and everything to lose. This guy's heart is doing for America. And it's a crying shame that our press and the rest of the people in this country can't get on board, because if they did, just imagine what this country would be. I have never been so emboldened, so empowered, for any leader that we've ever had in our history. Yes, I really loved Ronald Reagan, but I've never been so energized to be behind an individual leader of our country than I have Donald J. Trump.
Amen to you, brother. Great call, buddy. I'm right there with you. Thank you so much. He is absolutely spot on, and this is not un-American. We've done this forever. We took a pause and became the police of the world, is what we've said, after World War II, and stopped acquiring land. But we've done this forever. I mean, from day one, basically. It's sort of what, they don't like about the colonization of America or whatever. It's sort of what they don't like. But there is no great country that we have today without doing this. This is an old playbook. Getting Greenland is an old playbook. We've done this all over the world. We have all kinds of territories, all kinds of things that are strategic for us and keep us in a certain place. There's nothing new here, what Trump's doing. What's new is that he's actually doing it. After we've had a bunch of weak leaders in this country that would never even consider ruffling feathers and doing this. But when you're as big and bold, and make no mistake about it, what we just showed in Venezuela freaked the world out. They still don't know what we used to shock the troops that Maduro had around him and drop them to the ground without killing them, rendering them basically like a taser. For 30 minutes, they couldn't get up. They were totally disoriented and lived, many of them. We killed a lot of people on that thing. The whole world is like, what the hell did he do? How did that work? We don't know what that was. All right, let's get one more in. John in KC is up north. Hey, John, what's up?
Hey, Kevin, good. Hey, I just think that the thing you're right on about this is Trump is so different from all those other people in European, the whole aristocracy and all that they had up there is just crazy. And that's what we've gotten to here. And Trump is what our forefathers all wanted, as the guy who went and did his service and then goes back home instead of being in, Washington for 50 years.
Exactly right. And that's why so many of us voted for him. There's no question about it. He's risking his life. He doesn't need to. He could be on a beach somewhere or on a golf resort just living the great life of a billionaire. But nope. He's got bullets blowing through his ear. He's got guys waiting in the bushes for him. And he's got Iran that wants him dead. at every moment, and he's got an airplane with mechanical failure. No, no, this is a guy who really wants the job. Uncanceled continues next.
From Overland Park to Parkville, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Hey, we're back in just a couple of moments. I'm going to share with you some questions from a poll that Mark got that he shared with me and Pete and others about Kansas getting the Chiefs. And we're trying to figure out who's commissioned this poll and what it all means. You got to hear some of these questions. It's really remarkable. We're talking today about Trump's speech at Davos. Amazing. Two big pieces of news if you're just joining us. Trump says he will not invade Greenland. He will not use force in Greenland. And he said, well, I probably shouldn't have said that, but I'm breaking news here. People will be prosecuted for rigging the 2020 election. So it sounds like that's getting closer. Back to the phones we go. This is Jim and Kearney. Hi, Jim. What's up?
Hey, good morning, sir. I just want to piggyback off your first caller. I am so proud of our president and what's becoming his role in the world stage. I dropped out of college in 1979 and joined the Marine Corps because I knew Ronald Reagan was going to win the election, and we were being embarrassed daily on the nightly news by Iran. And if I was young, I would definitely join. I would stop what I'm doing and join and serve this president. It would be an honor. My son, as soon as he turned 18, he joined the Marine Corps also and served 5 years. And now he's out and happy and healthy. But our president is amazing, and the people that trash him, I just don't understand where they're coming from.
Well, it doesn't seem like enough. But first, let me thank you for your service. I know you probably hear that a lot, and people like me don't really know what else to say or do to thank the millions of people that have served this country over the decades of all of our lifetimes. It is absolutely amazing what you do. The work that we have seen under the Trump presidency of our military is inspirational for all young people. Pete Hegseth has said repeatedly that recruitment is up in all branches of the military. They're smashing records. So you're exactly right. Young people are like, that looks cool. Delta Force is cool. Flying those planes at Whiteman and dropping those bombs in Iran looks cool. And the U.S. military is pretty badass, and I'd like to be part of that. I've got a good friend who's got a son in service who's just he's a rising star, and I don't know that he's going to stay in because he may be going to law school and maybe politics after that or whatnot, sort of like J.D. Vance or whatever. But it is unbelievable how many of our best and brightest are in the military from day one. It's awesome, man. It's so good.
Makes us happy.
Yep. Thank you for the call.
Good show. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Doing a radio show and serving your country are two entirely different things, man. You've crushed it, and I'm glad you made the decision you did. That's really cool. So this poll is out there that apparently is being targeted at Kansans, and it's a quick, easy poll. It asks you your age, your skin color, your party of preference. Are you going to vote? Did you know the Chiefs are moving to Kansas? Did you know that it's star bonds and not your tax dollars and things like that? And this is a warning of why we wonder why polls are not accurate. Now, I'm not the one that is laying awake at night worried that Kansas is spending $2.8 billion on the Chiefs. Personally, I think it's money well spent. I think if you're the state of Kansas and you have an NFL team, you've beaten all odds. There is no state the size of Kansas that has an NFL team. There's only, 2.8 million people live in Kansas or something like that? It's a very small state. It's about half the size, not little more than half the size of Missouri. It just doesn't happen. States like Kansas, there's no team in South Dakota. All right? There's states like Kansas don't get NFL teams. This is a big deal. It's big for the quality of life. It's big for the state of Kansas. It's big. We always talk about the World Cup and the image of Kansas City. Well, I don't know how many people in Argentina or the Netherlands are going to go, oh, I love Kansas City. I'm going to get a second home there. But I know an awful lot of people in the United States that if they knew that the team is in Kansas and this is where it is, they'll think differently. Because I meet people all the time out of town, and they used to think Kansas City was just all in Kansas. But they've learned via the Chiefs that it's not, that it's in Missouri. They'll say, which side of the state line you're on? And we'll say, well, we're in Kansas. And then what they'll respond back with is a wide variety of things, and it develops a discussion. This is going to settle that for a lot of people. They'll know about the NFL. It's a big deal for Kansas. It's actually a much bigger deal for Kansas to have an NFL team than Missouri. But it's a really bad look that Missouri has lost 3 NFL teams. But I won't say Missouri's lost the Chiefs because they're staying in Kansas City, and that counts. You get to keep your team. But this poll comes out, And they're asking these questions, and I filled it out in maybe 3 minutes' time, maybe less. The Chiefs will move to Kansas. It's going to bring an estimated $1 billion, billion with a B, in new annual tax revenue to the state. Okay, well, that's going to be easy to see. That'll be really easy to see. In 2031, we will know if the tax revenue going to Topeka goes up by $1 billion because of one Chiefs season, the first year. We're going to know that. That sounds like a loaded number to me. They basically go on in the polling questions to say much of this money will be out of state. The money's going to be pouring in from Missouri especially. They're going to come over. They're going to spend money. We're going to get this new revenue. I don't doubt there's going to be all kinds of new revenue, and I don't doubt people are coming from out of state to spend money in Kansas, and it's going to be good for Kansas. I'm not an economist. I can't tell you if this is going to be paid off in 30 years. I can't tell you that the Star Bond District, what size it is, it's too big. They shouldn't be doing this. I don't have any directives on that. I think Kansas needed the Chiefs. It's a shrinking state. They're losing population, and I think this will help with that. But this is the whopper. Here's the exact question. Your answer to this question is, does knowing this make you more or less likely to support bringing the Chiefs to Kansas? More likely, less likely, makes no difference. And here's the question. Now that the specifics of the deal have been made public, we know its impact on the Kansas economy. During construction, it will create 21,000 new jobs, $4.4 billion in new local revenue, and $1.5 billion directly to workers. Going forward, it will create 4,000 new long-term jobs, over $1 billion in annual local revenue, and over $700 million directly to workers each year. Also, the bonds are now expected to be paid off within 10 to 15 years instead of the initial estimate of 30 years, which means this project will cost less in interest and begin diverting more revenue to fund local and state services sooner than expected. Now, any of these are questionable, but the whopper here is the bonds are now expected to be paid off in 10 to 15 years instead of the initial estimate of 30.
That's what jumped out to me.
It's unbelievable. So the next time you ask, how is that poll right? How is that correct? Well, if you're reading this and you don't know the issue and you read that, does knowing this make you more or less likely to support bringing the Chiefs? Well, hell, who wouldn't say more likely? That sounds great. That Santa Claus is coming, man. It's Christmas year-round in Kansas. 21,000 new jobs. $4.4 billion in local revenue. New local revenue. Not state, local. $1.5 billion directly to workers. 4,000 permanent long-term jobs. $1 billion in annual local revenue. Local, again, local. $700 million directly to workers every year. And now we've learned this is such a great deal for you that it's going to be paid off in 10 to 15 years, not 30. Look, I'm not the guy that hates this deal. I'm the guy that for 2 years has known about this deal. Everybody's acting like they didn't know this was going to happen. I still think the Royals are going to Kansas. If Kansas is paying 70% of a... Now, maybe Kansas is pulling out saying, okay, we're spent. We got the Chiefs. We're pulling back. We're not offering you this anymore. But Ty Masterson has been on record right here on KCMO Radio with Mundo in the Morning that the Royals qualified for the Star Bonds prior to December 31st, and they're in play for those bonds. They'd be crazy not to take the greatest deal any Major League Baseball owner ever got, and that is 70% of their facility paid for by Star Bonds in the state of Kansas. The entire world is melting down that this deal is taking place. It's been on the table for 2 years at up to 70%. The Chiefs technically are calling it 60% because it's, 2.8 of whatever their projection is, which would be 60%. But the Chiefs are responsible for all overruns and any extras. So that's how they're getting it down to 60% from 70%. The Chiefs are going to put in more money than they have to. There's going to be cost overruns, and there's going to be things that they want that as they're building, they're going to be like, no, we want this. It's going to cost more. Let's do that and go over budget. We'll fund that. That's why Kansas capped them at 2.8. But make no mistake about it. As it stands today, 2.8 is 70% of this project. And the Royals get the same thing. And we're trying to figure out who this poll is from. I initially thought, well, this is Republicans trying to figure, it's an election year. This is clearly one party or another. But they asked if you know about Laura Kelly. And then they asked your party, do you approve of the job that Laura Kelly's doing? Then they asked, do you approve of the House? Do you approve of the Senate? They asked my party affiliation. I gave them all honest answers. No, I don't like Laura Kelly. Yes, I like the House. Yes, I like the Senate. Yes, I'm a Republican. All those things. But I don't know who's asking here. But boy, this is sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns all the way through. Did you fill it out, Mark?
Yeah, the first time I took one of these polls, it was kind of similar questions. But one of the things was, would you vote for somebody that approves of this? And I said, yes, I would vote for somebody that approves of this because I like the Chiefs to Kansas. But other people might not agree with me.
Do you think there's any chance this is the Chiefs, or do you think the Chiefs don't care at this point?
I don't think this is the Chiefs. I think it's all Kansas politicians, both sides of the aisle. I think this goes to Democrats and Republicans.
I think Democrats and Republicans will see the answers, but I think you write a poll completely differently based on which party that is, and I'm not smart enough to figure this one out.
Yeah.
My initial thing was this is the Republicans because they think they're getting blowback in Kansas for doing this. The governor's taken a victory lap, but it could very easily be the Democrat Party saying, wait a second, Laura Kelly's owning this thing, and if it's not popular with the voters in November, we got to find a way to distance ourselves from her. I'm not sure. I don't know which party. I don't know if they're going to run from this thing in November because, boy, they were all real happy to circle the wagons and be in the gravy train. I mean, this was all about, hey, we did this, we did this, we did this. Now, my personal experience, and I live in Kansas, I have not spoken to one person that doesn't like this deal. Like literally the only person I've heard that lives in Kansas that doesn't like it that I've heard is Pete Mundo. Like literally the only person that I know. But Pete's smarter than all of us. He knows the economics. He knows it's a bad deal for Kansas. I would never argue that. I'd never get in a debate with Pete about the finances and the fundamentals and whether this is right or wrong. But I've also known for 2 years it's a bad deal for Kansas, and I still like the idea.
People like the idea of the Chiefs being in Kansas.
Folks, the reason I like the idea, there was never a place in Missouri to build a new stadium. Renovating Arrowhead would be the dumbest use of money possible. A new stadium is great for our city. When we build new things, good things happen. Remember all the people that didn't want the new airport terminal? Where are they? How about all the people that didn't want T-Mobile Center downtown? Where are those people? They wanted to stay at Kemper freaking Arena. Okay? This is progress. This is great for our city. I don't care about the state line. My personal preference would be the Royals in North Kansas City. I don't know if that's going to happen. They act like they're out. I don't know. I personally believe that nobody's talking about it. It's gone, radio silent, and the Royals are headed to Kansas. That's what I think. Because I don't know how dumb you could be as an owner of a Major League Baseball team if you had a state that was offering you 70% of your new stadium and you whiffed on that you missed a deadline or you blew the negotiation and you didn't get yours. Because what? Because the Chiefs did? Well, it wasn't an either or. It was both. It's always been both. We want you both. Now, maybe the Royals are accepting it, saying we're doing this, we're putting it together, and maybe they'll change their mind in Topeka and not pass it. That little committee had to meet after the first year. Everybody remember that? Or after December? How long has it been since they announced this thing? Do you remember when that was? It was right before Christmas,
right?
Right
Before Christmas.
But then the committee had to meet. They had to have this whatever. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs had to go meet with those people in their special meeting. The Royals would have to do the same thing. Maybe that committee doesn't have the appetite to do it again. I don't know. But that's going back on what you've promised the Royals. That's bad look for Kansas if they do it. Because they've promised it to the Royals. This poll question. They're going to pay the new Arrowhead off in 10 years. I'll take the over at FanDuel.com. I'll give 100 to 1 odds the other way, and I'll bet my net worth on it. There's just no way they're paying that thing off in 10 years. Unless, and I joked about this, they've got this giant surplus in Kansas. They got billions just laying around. They could just stroke a check for it. Say, we'll take the bond. State of Kansas will pay this thing right now, and we'll bond it out, and we'll take care of it. It's not anybody else's problem. Like they literally could pay the $2.8 billion during construction out of the general fund in Topeka. That's how overtaxed Kansans are. It's insane. They need to get busy on that and not worry so much about this. When we come back, Mark joins us. He's got all his KU gear on today. How about this? Bill Self feeling better. Looks like he's going to be coaching Saturday in Manhattan against K-State. And Jacques Vaughn won his first game as the fill-in head coach of the Jayhawks. We'll talk about that and more next.
Hey, it's Vince Gallane's Catch My News Show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Kietzman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
One of the greatest Kansas City Royals of all time didn't spend his entire career in Kansas City, but he was here a while, and it was a pleasure to watch. That is Carlos Beltran, and he is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He was the leading vote getter in the vote yesterday. So Carlos Beltran is in. Mark, I remember Carlos Beltran as a rookie. I interviewed him one time and tried to learn a little bit about him, and I found out he had a pet monkey, and his favorite restaurant was Boston Market.
All right.
Just
a simple man.
I guess they didn't have a Boston Market in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
he got here,
probably
was like,
not.
that's pretty good. I think he lived in an apartment right over here off Metcalf his first year or so, near the Boston Market, and probably couldn't believe how much food there was in there. Pretty good deal. So congratulations to him. Alex Gordon got 1 vote for the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he even really belongs on the ballot. I'm not being mean. I love me some Alex Gordon, but Hall of Fame consideration, no.
He's a Royals Hall of Famer.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Michelle Tafoya, the former NBC sports broadcaster from Sunday Night Football on the sidelines, has announced she's running for Senate in Minnesota to return normalcy and sanity to the state that she loves. She says there's a crisis in leadership. I'd vote for Michelle Tafoya in a heartbeat.
I like that.
Yeah, good for her. She always seems positive. Now, the good news is it sounds like Bill Self is already healthy. We have no details on what happened or what his status is, but there's reports out there that he's going to be coaching and probably Saturday night against Kansas State. Before we get into the game last night, this is good news. How do you take this news as a big Kansas fan?
Yeah, I would give him another game off. Like, I know he probably doesn't want to do that, but just let him have this road trip off and then get back into it. But I think Jacques Vaughn did great.
Jacques Vaughn did great. There's nobody that can make that decision for Bill Self other than Bill Self.
Yeah.
Like, he's the most powerful person at the University of Kansas. So there's nobody to step up and say it other than maybe his wife. And I think she's probably learned through the years that great coaches are stubborn and they're going to do what they want to do.
Bill does what Bill wants to
He
do.
must be okay.
Yeah.
If the doctors are clearing him and he's going to go back to coaching that quickly, he must be just fine. They must know exactly what it was, nipped it, and they're good.
Hopefully.
But I'm not sure we're going to get any details on this one.
Yeah. The Kansas fans I talk to at this point just want to see him retire after this season. Want him to be healthy, want him to live a life. He doesn't have anything else to prove. Just go on, let Jacques Vaughn be the coach.
Do you think he has anything in his mind that he'd like to coach a couple more years? But I don't want Jacques out there coaching every night because we're about to win a whole bunch of games.
Yeah.
He's looking at his team going, we can get Kevin and Mark to coach the team right now the way they're going, right?
That's true. That's true.
Smokes. Melvin Council Jr., how about this guy?
Dog.
He is a dog. He plays hard, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah, he was great last night. And Jacques Vaughn looks the part. Folks, I want to remind you that Jacques Vaughn has coached has been a head coach in 350 NBA games. I think you can probably handle coaching college.
Especially with the transfer portal. It's like NBA almost at this
That's what
point.
it feels like. I think they've got the perfect plan. I would not be surprised if Bill Self hangs it up at the end of the year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he kept coaching.
Yeah.
Not saying I know anything. Jacques Vaughn was brought here for a reason. We saw it last night. And I think that bodes well. And Kansas State's a hot mess. They somehow beat Utah last night. Missouri blew one against Georgia at the end, but I don't see K-State beating KU Saturday night. That's it for Uncanceled. Everybody's always telling me they sure wish it was another hour long. Go to kkasissues.com for another hour.